Hello lovies! Welcome to another Sims 4 building time lapse. Today I'm going to be building a tiny, modern, elevated, semi-treehouse. I don't really know if I would call it a treehouse, but it kind of is, I guess. It's elevated and it's in the trees, so you let me know in the comments below if you think that this would be considered a treehouse. To be honest, I don't even really know what this build was supposed to be. I just really wanted to use the brand new ladders that came with the June base game update, and this was the first build where I had a chance to use them, so I think I kind of went a little overboard. I'm super excited though to finally have ladders in my gameplay, especially for tiny home builds as well as for those more eclectic builds. You know, those builds that are really cool but aren't super realistic for anyone to really live in. Yeah, I think that I would consider this one to be a bit eclectic, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know that any normal person would live in a house like this, but I kind of started looking at it like a vacation home by the end, and I ended up placing this build in Granite Falls as a rental. So I think that this could be a really nice vacation home for a little, maybe like 4 to 6 person family. Maybe they could go camping in the woods. I don't know. That's kind of the idea that I had at the end of this build. I could also see it as like a bungalow kind of situation where there are a few bed and bath suites, but all of the communal areas are outside so that you can enjoy the scenery. I think that it could definitely work well as a rental, but who knows, maybe your Sims would like to live in a house like this. This is considered a small home. It's just under 100 tiles. It's only 98 tiles, so if you wanted a small home for your Sims, you can definitely use this. But like I said, I would prefer personally using it as a rental, but I will leave it up to you guys to decide what you want to use it for. I didn't really start this build with anything particular in mind. I just started building, and that can kind of be a blessing or a curse when you're building in The Sims. I think that some amazing builds can come out of not having any specific end goal in mind. I've definitely been pleasantly surprised by a lot of my builds that I haven't really had a plan for, because it just kind of lets your creativity fly free. But it also means that you can create things like this that don't really make practical sense. I really don't know what I was going for with this one. I think I was just trying to make it interesting with the multiple levels and all of the ladders. I don't really know if I succeeded, but I still had fun with it, and I don't think it turned out looking too horrible, so I see that as a win. I think that the most annoying part of this build was the exterior wallpaper. I just could not decide on what color I wanted it to be. I started off with a kind of off-white paneling with the black accents, but I ended up switching to a more colorful exterior while still keeping those black accents, and I thought I had my mind set on that, but by the end I decided to switch those two red and orange sections to a brown paneling so that it kind of meshed better with the aesthetic in Granite Falls. I don't know why, but I'm just not really big on lots of color. I like to use mostly neutrals in my builds, and in real life, if I'm being completely honest, I don't wear anything but neutrals, and my whole house is like white, but I like to use mostly whites, blacks, and browns, but I like to have a variety of different textures to add interest to the interior of my builds. I also love to add a ton of clutter so that each build looks like it has been lived in and that it's very comfy and cozy and doesn't have that like sterile kind of feeling. I think that the next biggest challenge was trying to fit in all of the interior furniture. I didn't really realize how small I made these little rooms, and it was definitely a challenge to try and get all of the different beds in there. I knew that I wanted to sleep at least 6 Sims, so I did utilize the Murphy bed in one of the sections, but that section with the 2 twin beds was actually really difficult for me to organize in a way that felt natural and wasn't overly squished together, but still functional. I don't know, for some reason I really struggled with that room in particular, but overall I am really pleased with how the layout ended up being in the end. I think that I utilized the space really well. I do have to say that is one of my favorite parts of building, is having something that is a really challenging layout where I have to kind of finagle things and squish things in, make sure that things are still functional. So I think that's the most challenging part of building, is trying to fit everything in, especially for the tiny builds. I think that my favorite part about this build was the landscaping. At first, I was thinking of just doing like a normal kind of treehouse themed build, but when I was looking at the debug items, which if you don't know what the debug items are, where you can find them, all you have to do is hit Control-Shift-C to open up your command box, and then you're going to type in bb.show hidden objects and bb.show live edit objects. And when you hit show live edit objects, a bunch of different exterior build items will show up. So these big boulders and a bunch of these trees were actually part of the debug item menu. So when I saw these big boulders, I definitely wanted to use them in this build. I thought that they would be so cool if this build was just kind of connected and built kind of into the boulder with a bunch of trees surrounding it. I thought that would look really nice. And then there was a bunch of different landscaping, kind of like trees and bushes and shrubberies and different little plants that I found in the debug menu, and I went a little crazy around that little pond area, and I grabbed everything that I thought looked cool and just put it in there. But I think it looked really cool. And I also found that little like hanging plant with the little blue flowers, and I thought that would look really nice hanging off of the boulders there and just give it a little touch of greenery and make it look like it's not such a sterile boulder and there's like moss and greenery growing on it. I thought that would look really cool. So even though this is a little bit of an odd kind of a build, I'm really pleased with the way that it ended up turning out, and I really like this build. I think it'll be fun to use this in my gameplay as a little rental for my Sims in Granite Falls. And as always, this is going to be on the gallery, so if you guys want to download this and use it in your own gameplay, you are absolutely welcome to do so. I will leave my origin ID as well as my social media links down in the description below. So if you want to stay updated on any of my upcoming builds or have access to additional content as well as stay connected to me, please go and follow me there. I do have a few more time lapses of finished builds coming up, but if you have any suggestions on what I should build next, please leave them in the comments below. Well, I think that is about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this time lapse, and until next time, dag dag!